population, its composition and structure, its quality and interrelationship among its constituent individuals and communities are perhaps the most important determinants of development of a country. The composition and structure of population has several dimensions. Distribution of the total between male and female, among different age groups, among different religious and ethnic groups, among different classes, occupations, skill categories, abilities, and so on. Similarly, quality of population, illiterate, literate, educated, unskilled and skilled, pre-modernized and modernized in their attitudes, behavior and actions is very important. India will emerge as one of the youngest nations by 2020, and this changing demographic condition could pose some challenges as well, while providing great opportunities as per the economic survey. India is passing through a phase of unprecedented demographic changes, wherein proportion of working age population, that is 15 to 59 years, is likely to rise from around 58% in 2001 to over 64% by 2021, said the pre-budget report card on the state of economy. This demographic dividend provides India great opportunities, but also poses a great challenge, the survey said, while noting that the average Indian will only be 29 years old in 2020. In absolute numbers, there will be around 63.5 million new entrants to the working age group between 2011 and 2016. Further, the bulk of this increase is likely to take place in the relatively younger age group of 20 to 35 years. According to Human Development Report published by United Nations Development Programme (UNDP), India is still in the medium human development category, with countries like China, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Philippines, Egypt, Indonesia, South Africa and even Vietnam has a better rank. Notwithstanding the fact that life expectancy in India has increased by 1 percentage points from 64.4 in 2010 to 65.4 in 2011, it was way behind the global average and some other nations including Sri Lanka. Life expectancy at birth in Norway was 81.1 years, Australia was 81.9 years, Sri Lanka was 74.9 years, China is 73.5 years, while the global average was 69.8 years. Similarly, the performance of India in terms of mean years of schooling is not only much below that of countries like Sri Lanka, China and Egypt, which have higher per capita income, but also below that of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Vietnam, which have lower per capita incomes. It is also much lower than the global average. In terms of gender inequality index, there is a higher degree of gender discrimination in India compared to countries like China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan and Sri Lanka, as also the global average. Keeping above information in mind, we can analyze various factors influencing Indian human resource as well as many issues bouncing around it. This module concentrates on following 5 objectives, namely issues related to agriculture workforce in India, factors to be analyzed in industrial workforce, education and its contribution to workforce production, women workforce in India, other issues related to human resources. By contributing nearly 1/4 of the GDP and providing livelihood to around 70% of the population, agriculture continues to be the backbone of Indian economy. 1/3 of rural households are agricultural labor households subsisting on wage employment. India ranks second worldwide in farm output. Agriculture and elite sectors like forestry, logging and fishing accounted for 15.7% of the GDP in 2009-10, employed 52.1% of total workforce, and despite a steady decline of its share in the GDP, is still the largest economic sector and a significant piece of the overall socio-economic development of India. India's inland water resources, including rivers, canals, ponds and lakes, and marine resources comprising the east and west coasts of Indian Ocean and other gulfs and bays, provide employment to nearly 6 million people in the fisheries sector. Of the workers, about 32% are cultivators and 27% agricultural laborers, thus showing that in the country about 59% of the workers are engaged in agricultural activities. In the early 1990s, there were estimates that between 10% and 20% of agricultural workers were bonded laborers. On the recommendation of the 8th Standing Labour Committee, the Minimum Wage Bill was introduced in the Central Legislative Assembly on 11th March 1946 to provide for fixation of minimum wage in certain employments. The bill was enacted on 15th March 1948. Since then, minimum rural and urban wages have been set around 20% and 50% respectively of the GDP per capita of each state.